Did you know that Marilyn Monroe wasn't the only famous actress known for making the scene? Behind the glitz and flashing lights of old Hollywood, there was scandal. Most popular actresses had personal lives that were just as exciting as the ones they played on TV and in movies. Today, we're going to explore the world of 25 naughty old Hollywood divas who were said to have slept with anyone to get ahead, which led to rumors and news stories that are still being written today. Number 1 today was Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah Bankhead was mostly known as a sex icon of her time for how attractive and honest she was about her sexuality. Her seductive voice made her even more attractive. She had many sexual relationships and was happy to be bisexual at a time when queer culture wasn't widely accepted. The New Yorker said she was allegedly seeing about 500 men. People of all genders, including famous women, were in her relationships over the course of her life. Patty Kelly, an actress at the time, said she had a sexual connection with Bankhead when she worked for her as a personal helper. Bankhead was mostly an actress on stage, but she was in a number of movies, including Alfred Hitchcock's Lifeboat, for which she won an award. She had a short but successful radio career and a few TV outings. Bankhead married actor John Emery, but they split up because she was gay, which she was very open about. But she had 4 abortions before getting a hysterectomy in 1933. An interview she gave to Motion Picture magazine in which she complained caused a stir. "I'm serious about love. I'm damn serious," she said. "I mean it this time. I haven't had an affair in 6 months. 6 months is too long if there's one thing I care about right now. It's not Hollywood or the Hollywood state of mind. I want a man." It's been 6 months since reports about Bankhead's sex life started lasting for years. And she was once looked into for claims that she had been seducing schoolboys at Eton College. Number 2, Jayne Mansfield was often mentioned with Mae West and has become famous for her links to racy and opulent lifestyles, which has made her one of the most famous actresses in Hollywood history. Remember the time when Sophia Loren took a quick look at Mansfield's cleavage? Mansfield had many boyfriends. She had many passionate encounters, and there are even reports that she was dating President John Kennedy, which caused problems in his marriage to Jackie Kennedy, which lasted 10 years. When she went to Palm Springs, she met John Kennedy through his brother-in-law, Peter Lawford. But their supposed affair did not happen. Last but not least, her most important relationship was with Anton LaVey, the head priest and the head of the Church of Satan, who said she died because of a curse he put on her. She was married 3 times and is said to have been sexually involved with many men, including Claude Raphael, owner of the Paris restaurant Tour d'Argent, Robert Kennedy, George Gwinnell, a Brazilian billionaire, and Las Vegas entertainer Nelson Sardelli, the director Enrico Bamba, and her lawyer Samuel S. Brody. Mansfield and Brody were both killed in a car accident. Whitney Williams, an expert on exploitative movies, wrote about Mansfield in Variety and said that her personal life was more tumultuous than any of the parts she played. Number 3, Elizabeth Taylor. No one forgets Elizabeth Taylor for just how beautiful she was or how talented she was. Her personal life gets a lot of attention as one of Hollywood's most famous actors. People knew her from her marriage to Eddie Fisher, who was married to her close friend Debbie Reynolds at the time. Over time, Taylor finally apologized and made peace with Reynolds. Because of their friendship, she had a rough love life and many of her relationships ended in heartbreak. During her career, Taylor's love life was a disaster, and the media often paid close attention to it. It seemed unstoppable, constantly bouncing back into even more chaos. She was married 8 times to 7 different men. Her true love and co-star, Richard Burton, was one of them. Taylor's love life with Richard, the man she married twice, began on the screen before it moved off-screen in the movie Cleopatra, which took 2.5 years to finish. On the other hand, during her first marriage to Conrad Hilton, she gambled too much, drank too much, and was cruel. After her split from her first husband, construction worker Larry Fortensky, she decided to spend the last few years of her life alone. In her personal life, she was also friends with star Colin Farrell until her passing in 2011. And even though her health was naturally weak and she had been struggling with addiction for a long time, painkillers and sleeping pills helped Taylor live to be a very old 80. Number 4, Vivien Leigh. Vivien Leigh is known for her amazing portrayals of Blanche Dubois and Scarlett O'Hara, which earned her praise for her immense ability and striking looks. However, she first came to the public's attention when she was cast as Henrietta in the 1935 movie The Mask of Virtue. Her performance quickly got her movie offers, marking her rise from a young actor to one of Hollywood's most beloved starlets. Her troubled marriage to Sir Laurence Olivier faced a lot of problems and moral controversies. In the worst parts of her life, it is said that her unwavering drive to reach the top led her to marry Olivier, even though she was married to Leigh Holman and had a child with him at the time. The first time Leigh and Olivier met was after one of her plays in 1936, The Mask of Virtue in London. Olivier stopped by to show his support for the rising star who saw her show even though Olivier was with actress Jill Esmond, got separated while she was pregnant, and went on to marry Olivier. Leigh was ready to leave others behind in order to reach the top of her career. Her pursuit did not waver. Olivier stopped his marriage to Esmond and married Leigh. They hit it off right away when they met for the first time, and Leigh is said to have told a friend afterward, "That's the man I'm going to marry." Number 5. Clara Bow. Clara Bow, who was known as the It Girl of silent films, made a big difference as one of the first and most scandalous movie stars. She quit when she was only 28 years old in 1931. Despite her old-fashioned love views, she was in the middle of a lot of different situations. There were disputes about Bow's relationships with her boyfriends, who got engaged and broke up quickly. She also had to deal with Gary Cooper and Victor Fleming, the head of Paramount. Other issues, like the famous claim that she had affairs with the whole university football team, filled her full and exciting life with drama and intrigue, which cemented her position as a famous and captivating Hollywood star. Though short, her last public showing happened on the radio show Truth or Consequences. Bow played the mysterious voice in the show's Mrs. Hush segment. After her retirement, Clara Bow started to show signs of mental illnesses that were probably caused by the huge stresses and problems that come with being a starlet. The close attention and high standards of Hollywood, along with the ups and downs of her personal life, made her mental health problems worse, and over time, they became that much stronger, showing how fame and public life can hurt someone. This fall not only hurt her health, but also showed a clear contrast to the lively and confident persona she played in movies. She became socially awkward, and even though she wouldn't hang out with her husband, she also wouldn't let him leave the house alone. Number 6. Diana Dors. Diana Dors became famous as the British blonde beauty known for her extravagant lifestyle in a mansion and her wild parties. Her image as a wandering hussy came from the fact that she was married 3 times and had many lovers. She was famous for more than just her small parts in low-budget movies. She also did things on set that people would do sexual things in the program that her first husband pushed for her. Dennis Hamilton. Diana Dors mostly acted in sex comedies and was married to Hamilton when she found out that he had been cheating on her. She kept up her well-known image in racy modeling. She kept making tabloid stories, and her house parties became famous for having a lot of alcohol and drugs given to celebs, who then mixed with young starlets while being surrounded by both. Number 7. Lupe Velez. Lupe Velez, known as the Mexican Spitfire, a name that fit her fiery personality and strong will. Velez had a rough personal life that got a lot of attention from the media. She was involved in having affairs with a number of well-known men in the movie business, such as Clark Gable, Charlie Chaplin, and Errol Flynn. Many people knew Lupe Velez for being protective in relationships when they learned about her affair with Clark Gable during his affair with Marlene Dietrich. She allegedly made violent threats and said she wanted to gouge out Dietrich's eyes if she had the chance. Her first long-term public connection was with Gary Cooper, which went on for 2 years. The relationship was emotional and often stormy when Velez got mad and attacked Cooper. She was just as fierce about protecting her job as she was about her relationships. Other artists in their 30s were afraid of her because she was so scary. She was said to be pregnant with Harold Raymond, who was married at the time. It had a sad ending because she killed herself by taking too many sleeping pills and left an empty glass of brandy for Harold the day after Velez's death. He told the press that Velez's death had left him very confused and that he had agreed to marry Velez in the book, even though they were no longer together. From bananas to buttocks. The Latina form in pop culture and movies, Rosalinda Fregoso, thinks that Velez may have died because she didn't get help for a mental illness like depression. Number 8. Jayne Tierney. In the 1940s, Jayne Tierney was a well-known actress known for her stunning beauty, which made her a leading lady. During her lifetime, she was linked to a number of high-profile affairs. Rumors went around that she was dating a number of famous people, including John F. Kennedy when he was a young soldier in World War II. Tierney was involved with 2 veterans, Kirk Douglas and Prince Ali Khan, and Tyrone Power. She was married twice. The first time to Oleg Cassini, a costume and fashion designer. Then she met Howard Lee, a Texas oil baron, who became her husband. He was her second husband after getting split from actress Hedy LaMarr. They lived together after their marriage. Even though she had put herself in exile, she lived quietly in Houston, Texas. Tierney got job offers from Hollywood, which made her come back, even though she kept acting. She never had as much success in the 1960s and 1970s as she did in the 1950s. Accomplished with movies like Laura and Leave Her to Heaven, the latter of which won her an Oscar. A mention for an Academy Award for Best Actress for her work in bringing back Jayne Tierney found out she was going to have a baby while she was still an actress. Sadly, this moment of hope was briefly overwhelmed by tragedy. She had a miscarriage. Following this very personal loss, she had to make the hard choice to quit her present production. Number 9. Louise Brooks. Brooks had a short but impressive time in the movie business. She had a lot of dislike for Hollywood and instead aimed to build a strong character based on sensuality reading, and Brooks wanted to define her image beyond the flash of Hollywood by highlighting how unique she was. She was very creative, and today she is seen as an icon of the Flapper Society. In part because she helped make the bob hairstyle famous when she was at the height of her career. Despite her dislike for the business, she enjoyed indulging in pleasure. Her first marriage was with director Eddie Sutherland, who had become fascinated with George Preston Marshall, owner of a chain of laundries and future owner of the Washington Redskins football team. She left Sutherland mainly due to her budding relationship with Marshall. Marshall asked her to marry him over and over. But when he found out she had been seeing other men, he broke up with her. He married film star Corinne Griffith instead. But she finally left Marshall to marry a wealthy man in Chicago, DIVAS, only to leave him again. That marriage in 5 months. Even though she was married twice, Brooks never had children. A sexually free woman who isn't afraid to try new things and is even willing to pose naked for art. Photography. She had a lot of friendships with bisexual and gay women, like Pepe Lederer and Peggy Fears, but ASU relationships. She admitted to some lesbian liaisons, including a one-night stand with Greta Garbo. But it didn't last long. Louise Brooks's life and acting career ended when she was only 26. Number 10. Rita Hayworth, also known as the pinup girl, was naturally shy, which is different from many main ladies, and she kept her personal life secret. She became famous in the 1940s when she was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood's golden age. She had a lot of problems due to her drinking and being with a demanding partner. Her life was hard, and her marriages often ended in disputes and long court cases. Rita was married 5 times and had many children. She moved on to the next relationship while still dealing with the effects of the last one. Separation because of sex stress and drinking. She aged faster than she should have, and she also had early-stage Alzheimer's disease, which made it hard for her to remember things. She wanted to stop playing when she at first saw this, but she needed money, and at the actor Robert's advice, Mitchum, she agreed to film The Wrath of God. This made her look bad. Her mental health was getting worse because she couldn't even remember her lines. Scenes were filmed one line at a time. Because her health was getting worse, she left the set and went back to the US. She never went back to performing when both of her brothers died in the same week. She felt very sad and depressed, which led to heavy drinking during her last days. She spent them drinking while living in an apartment in New York. Her memories getting worse and her money going up and down. Slipped into a semi-coma and died of Alzheimer's-related symptoms illness. Number 11. Barbara LaMarr. Barbara LaMarr was an interesting person in Hollywood history for having a rough personal life. She got married for the first time at the amazingly young age of 17. and went on to get married 5 times, with 4 of those marriages are official records. It's interesting that her first marriage happened right after she got divorced from her LaMarr's first run-in with the law happened, when she was only 14 years old. Her first marriage was to someone she met through a show. Max Lawrence, who later turned out to be a former soldier of fortune called Lawrence Converse, was married to many women. Show not only her search for love and security, but also how rough life can be for her. She lived a short but interesting life in the public eye and was a well-known person. The public's attention with her beauty and skill, and during her rough journey, she made bonds with many people. Notable guys who were connected to her made her more interesting. Ranged from the famous dancer Philip Answorth to the dancer Ben Day and actress Jack Doty. LaMarr's life was shaped by both her relationships and her never-ending desire for, even though she was in a lot of relationships, this wasn't enough to satisfy her needs. She also wanted excitement and adventure, claimed that she could only sleep 2 hours a night, and had problems with addiction all through her adult life. Her crazy life and the damage it did to her health caught up with her too quickly, and she died at a young age. Age 29. Number 12. Marilyn Monroe. 12. Marilyn Monroe quickly became one of the most famous sex icons of the 1950s and 1960s. In the 1960s, she not only wowed people with her beauty and charm, but she also became a major symbol of the time. Monroe's chaotic behavior and larger-than-life persona during the sexual revolution added to her mystique, which makes her an interesting subject even now. Today, Marilyn Monroe isn't just known for her relationships with other stars. She also had relationships with other people, with powerful and influential men from a wide range of fields being some of her most famous. His ties with Arthur Miller, the famous playwright George Marshall, and others were rough. Leader of the Armed Forces and John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, states that these links showed how well Monroe could handle the complicated worlds of both Hollywood and in the bigger picture of politics. Her affair with Arthur Miller was especially important because it connected her personal life to the worlds of writing and theater, showing her need for intellectual company at the same time that her rumored friendship with Kennedy not only captured the public's attention and put her at the center of political intrigue during a crucial time in American history, while John F. Kennedy's wife, Jacqueline Kennedy, decided to dismiss the fact that Marilyn Monroe's famous relationship with the president brought attention to her husband's cheating. To be very upsetting, Monroe's relationship with Kennedy wasn't just a short one. It turned into a sensational topic in the media, which led to a lot of attention and rumors about her life. According to many reports, the Monroe had a hard time dealing with the pressures of being married because Kennedy eventually turned her down. The attention from the public and the fact that she was dating one of the most powerful men in the world made things very difficult for her. World made her feel alone and hopeless, and many people think that she died tragically because of her broken heart and her ongoing struggles with mental illness and drug abuse. Death too soon. In 1962. Number 13. Jane Harlow. Age 13. Harlow. Jane Harlow was a famous golden blonde in the early days of sound movies. She was best known for her roles in Better Stories. She was the most famous sex icon of the 1930s and one of the defining names of the American film industry before the code. She had a scandalous hero, got a bad name when she married an older man when she was only 16 years old. Her naked pictures from when she was 17 years old got a lot of attention. The sad finding of her 43-year-old husband was shot and killed at age 22. He was covered in blood. Unexpected event. Even though she wasn't found guilty of anything, her fame actually rose after he died. And some people even thought she had a big part in MGM's success. During Harrow's fame grew so much during the hard times of the Great Depression that she was even more beautiful than Joan Crawford, Greta Garbo, and Norma Desmond. She was a shearer at MGM, but she died too soon. Of 26 because of kidney failure while working on the movie Saratoga. Even though she unexpected death, MGM finished the movie with body doubles and put it out, and it was a surprise that less than 2 months after she died, Saratoga became the highest, making the most money in 1937 and her whole career. Number 14. 14. Linda Beasley. Linda Darnell. As Linda Darnell tried to change her life and work, they took a big turn for the worse. She changed her public image into one that was more sexualized and daring. Darnell's desire to reinvent herself was deeply affected by bad things that happened in her personal and work life. Trying to become more sexy and bold, but this change didn't bring her the success or attention she was looking for. During this rough time, she knew her business boss would steal from her. These problems caused a dark time in her life, and she turned to drink as a way to deal with them. Even though she was one of Hollywood's most beautiful bachelorettes at the time, she had 3 failed marriages, had a hard time staying married, and rumors spread that she was seeing other guys. Mickey Rooney, Alan Gordon, Kay Kaiser, Eddie Albert George, and Alan Gordon were some of these men. Montgomery, Jackie Cooper, and others. Her love life was talked about. There was a lot of talk and interest in her biggest commercial hit, which was Forever Amber, based on the best-selling book of the 1940s and Fox's biggest hit of the year, caused a lot of controversy. 1947. Her work in Summer Storm Hangover Square won her praise from critics. There is no way out if an angel cheats on you and sends a letter to 3 wives. Number 15. Raquel Welch. Raquel Welch is known for her captivating mix of 15. Raquel Welch, beginning with her marriage to her high school boyfriend James Welch in 1959. Her life is full of love and history, and their 2 kids during their split in 1962 and final divorce in 1964. Her life was full of ups and downs, and keeping the Welch last name added a meteoric touch, which she kept until she died. She got married to in Paris in 1967 with journalist Patrick Curtis, but they broke up in 1972. After the fact, Curtis told press that Welch had an abortion while they were married. In 1968, while shooting 100 rifles in Spain, the media even said that Welch was involved with Spanish, the relationship she has with Nigel, played by actress Sanko Gracia, is adding more drama to her life. Limestone Gary Stretch and Richie Palmer made her story even more interesting. She married producer Andrew Weinfeld in 1980, but she had a miscarriage 3 months into the pregnancy. Her pregnancy and her marriage to Weinfeld ended in 1990. She then went on to date in 1996. Welch married Richie Palmer, who was married to former British boxing champion Gary Stretch, a co-owner of Mulberry Street Pizzeria in 1999, but they got divorced in 2003. In an interview with Elle, Welch talked about a big choice she made in her personal life. In 2011, she said she didn't want to get married again after her split in the early to mid-2010s. She dated Nigel Litho, a well-known American Idol producer throughout her career. Welch handled a number of relationships while keeping her integrity. 16 Ann Sheridan. Ann Sheridan. Age 16 Sheridan was known as the Oomph Girl, and she was a skilled actress who had a complicated relationship with this nickname because she hated it even though it fit the glamorous image. While Sheridan was famous for her roles, her love life was just as interesting. Her romance with the famous sex hound Errol Flynn. She married actor Edward Norris, but they were together for only a year before getting a split. After her marriage, she had an affair with Rodolfo Asta, a Mexican actor. Her last marriage was to actor Scott McKay, who stayed by her side until her passing just 7 months later. She is best known for her parts in the film San Quentin, with Humphrey Bogart, Angels with Dirty Faces with James Cagney, and Bogart They Drive By Night with George Raft, and Bogart City for Conquest with Elia Kazan, The Man Who Came to Dinner and King's Row with Ronald Reagan. Number 17. Dorothy Arzner. Dorothy Arzner is an important figure in Hollywood because she was the first woman to direct a movie. During her time in the business, she was in a relationship with Marion Morgan for 40 years. A talented dancer and director who was 16 years older than her, Arzner tried to keep her personal life quiet, but she was closely linked to several actresses, such as Alla Nazimova and Billy Burke. She was out about being gay and didn't hide it. Avoid being herself. The clothes she wore were not typical for women of in her time. She often wore suits or straight dresses, which showed that she didn't care about what other people thought. In the norms, there were reports that Arzner may have been in relationships with famous stars like Joan Crawford, Katherine Hepburn, and Morgan came to an agreement on they lived together on Mountain Oak Drive until Morgan's death in 1971. When Arzner was getting older, she left the busy Hollywood scene to live in desert Number 18. A peaceful place to be. Barbara Stanwyck had an amazing 60-year career on stage, screen, and TV. She was known for Barbara Stanwyck. Age 18, her realistically strong screen press and ability to play many roles, while in the news it is said that Stanwyck fell in love with her married co-star Rex Cherryman, and after he died, she got married. Frank Faye, but she couldn't have children. Also, one writer says that she couldn't have children because of a failed abortion she had when she was 15. Adding to the problems, the pair got a divorce because of physical abuse. When Frank was drunk, she started dating her co-star Robert. Taylor Stanwyck dated a 22-year-old actor for 4 years when she was 45 years old. Robert Wagner. Number 19. Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich had a great career. There was Marlene Dietrich. During the 8 decades from the 1910s to the 1980s, she was known for carefully putting together her work image, while keeping her personal life very private. Her knowledge balancing her public image with her private life helped her leave a lasting mark on the entertainment industry. In the 1920s, Marlene Dietrich bravely accepted her sexuality in the movie business, pushing the limits by hanging out in gay bars and going to drag balls before queer society had fully grown. She went against social norms by pursuing. She took advantage of her masculine charm to get into relationships with anyone she wanted. There's no denying how sensual Marlene Dietrich was when she was in the United States. Fame and interact with different people, such as Gary Cooper, despite being involved in another affair with many men, including John Gilbert and Douglas Fairbanks. Her allure and magnetic personality drew them in, many of which put her in touch with important people in the entertainment business during her successful career. In number 20 in Hollywood, Katherine Hepburn. Katherine Hepburn was famous for her having a strong, independent, and outspoken personality, helps create a screen character that matched this public image, and regularly playing sophisticated, strong-willed. Even though Hepburn's only marriage was to society Lo Ogden Smith, she had many women lovers. She dated a number of men, including Leland Hayworth, who was her boss at the time and was a businessman from Philadelphia. At the time, even though they were both married, she was seeing businessman Howard Hughes. Hughes wished to marry her, and the tabloids claimed that they were going to get married soon. But Hepburn kept her mind on bringing her back to life. She stuck to her decision not to get married again and chose not to have children because she thought that being a mother meant giving up her whole time, which she wasn't ready to do. Since the 1930s, there have been reports that she was either bisexual or a lesbian. She often made jokes about it but wouldn't say for sure or no. In a 2017 documentary, a close friend and writer Liz Smith said that she was number 21. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo was known for being free-spirited. 21. Sheena Easton. She had relationships with people of different sexual orientations, which made her life more interesting. Their marital state, even though she doesn't talk about her relationships, many rumors and speculations say that he may have had an affair with Josephine Baker, but she never admitted it. They stayed friends for life. Women like Louise Brooks, who wrote about her affair in her book, were also involved with her. She had affairs with guys like Johnny Weissmuller and had relationships with other men. Even though she never got married, her life with Charles Adams was full of love. Diversion number 22. Mae West. Mae West was known for being a sex symbol. 22. Mae West. She was known for her breezy sexual independence and her beautiful body. She worked in vaudeville and on stage in New York City before she moved. She moved to Los Angeles to start working in movies. She was married to Frank Wallace when she was 17. She married when she was 17 and kept the marriage a secret. But in 1935, a filing clerk found the marriage license and told it first. West told the press that she had never married Frank, but she finally admitted it in July 1937 in response to a court question. Later, she met Guido Darrow. After having an affair with him, Darrow married her. West was also seeing someone else, the Cotton Club's Ani Madden, who didn't date the chorus girls. She turned into he was seeing Chester Morris, one of the Musketeers, when he was 61 years old. Her Las Vegas stage show a wrestler who used to be Mr. California and Mr. Sailor, 30 years younger than her, moved in with her and they hit it off. Kept going until her death at age 87 from a stroke in 1980. Grace Kelly, 23. Grace Kelly is beloved for her beauty. Even though she had only been in 11 movies, she became Princess of Monaco when she married Prince Rainier II in 1956. She stayed classy from the golden age of Hollywood, and before she became a princess, she lived a carefree life. Her romantic adventures began while she was shooting High Noon with Gary Cooper, who was a lot older than her. The trend kept going when she had an affair with Clark Gable, an older actor. She had a long list of romantic flings. She fell in love and married Prince Rainier, but not before having a number of romance. Grace had a small brain bleed on the way back to Monaco from her country home in Rock Eagle, and Joan Crawford died because of illness number 24. Joan Crawford was 24. Joan Crawford, not only was she known for her talent, but also for how she used charm and her connections with powerful men in the business, like Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Spencer Tracy, and Clark Gable. Despite her relationships helped her get better jobs and roles. Aside from her many accomplishments, Crawford's life also had some less than glamorous parts, such as personal problems and controversies that often overshadowed her accomplishments. Even though she was still a well-known MGM actor, and while continuing to make movies that made money, Crawford's fame dropped in the late 1930s. In 1937, Life magazine called her the first queen of the movies. But that same year she dropped from 7th to 16th place without warning, placed at the box office, which shows that her popularity has changed and is decreasing. Crawford got married 4 times after her first 3 marriages because she was so famous. Her second marriage ended in divorce, and her third marriage ended in tragedy when her husband Al Steele died. Crawford adopted 5 kids, but one of them was taken back by his real mother. Her ties with her 2 older children, Christina and Christopher, were tense, so she took away their inheritance. After she wrote the autobiography Christina Crawford, a tell-all released a memoir titled Mommy Dearest, alleging her late adoptive mother was emotionally and physically violent. In 1981, the book was made into the film Mommy Dearest, starring Faye Dunaway. Ava Gardner, number 25 for Dunaway. Ava Gardner first signed a deal with this is Ava Gardner. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1941, and mostly played small parts until 1946, when she wowed reviewers with her standout role in Robert Shudmack's movie Nora the Killers. When Gardner got to Los Angeles, she met fellow MGM contract player Mickey Rooney, and they got married in 1942. But they were only married for a short time because Gardner asked for a divorce in 1943, saying that his wife was mentally abusive. The second marriage didn't last long either. It was to jazz singer and bandleader Artie Shaw. From 1945 to 1946, she got married for the third and last time to singer and actor Frank Sinatra. 1951 to 1957, she wrote in her memoirs that he was the love of her life. She was also in a number of other relationships, including one with Aviator. In 1954, she started dating Howard Hughes, even though she later said she was never really in love with him. About the time she started the divorce process from Sinatra, Domenico Modugno Plus, she was in a relationship with her boyfriend and partner. American actor Benjamin Gregg Peck and Tatum O'Neal were close friends, and their friendship lasted until the end of Gardner's life. After her passing in 1990, Peck took in both The Person Who Cleans Her House and Her Dog. Say thanks for watching, and see you next time.